Greetings and welcome to
YAS Podcast, formerly known as
YAS Stripper Podcast.
This is our podcast, all of ours.
A podcast for all sex workers.
In this podcast, we will discuss the ins and outs, ups and downs of our lives and experiences as sex workers. I am your host, Daisy Ducati.
I am your heauxprahs, Gigi Holiday.
I'm your stripper queen from the north, Onyx.
I'm A.M. Davies, and this is YAS Podcast.
Hi, you're listening to YAS Podcast, aka Yes, a Stripper Podcast. This is Lisa Michelle, and I'm your host today, and we have A.M. Davies as our producer. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Things are good. It's snowing and raining at the same time. No big deal.
Awesome apocalypse.
Yeah, it's nice. At least I can see the grass finally. It was like living in ice world for a while. And it's like chill, I guess. It's like not that big of a deal when it snows, but when you have like a metal rod inside of your bone that you can like feel the coldness inside, that just gets kind of weird, you know? Like maybe I should move to Florida. Like
Yeah. You can move to Tennessee. It's like early summer here today.
Is it really
Went
warm?
outside. Yeah, it's like 60 something and humid as hell.
Yeah, it was below 9 2 weeks ago here in Pennsylvania. It's not wild.
I don't miss that at all.
No.
I don't miss it.
Oh,
No.
God. You know what I do by accident? I wear these like ribbed tank tops because like I love men's clothes. So I wear the ribbed tank tops and then I go outside. I have like a hoodie on, like a zip hoodie, but it'll be open and then it'll be windy. And then because it's below 9 degrees out, my nipples get really hard. And then the fucking tank tops chafe my nipples. It's really upsetting.
You're also giving all of nature a free show.
And I've done it like twice this winter.
You should be charging for that.
Anyways, how are you doing?
I'm good. Today is my 4th week in post breast augmentation recovery.
Nice.
So I can start doing cardio again. Yeah, it's been good. It's been interesting not being able to move as much.
Right.
But you know, it's a good opportunity. There's always something else to do, like crochet a sweater for 3 weeks and then pull it out because it does not look like the pattern that you paid for.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I've ripped that thing out like at least 6 times. I'm like, this isn't right. This pattern is wrong. And you know what? You just have to like know that when you buy a pattern that it's just never going to look like what the creator made because they did something weird in there that they didn't tell you about.
Right.
Yeah. So you just got to kind of freestyle it. Like, and also no one's proportions are the same. So just because someone made it at their size and then just decreased it or increased it for your size doesn't mean that that's how it should look.
Right. That makes sense.
I'm going to be freestyling the rest of my sweater.
That's hot.
Yeah. Anyway, so speaking of hard nipples, we're going to talk about breast augmentations and talk about surgeries today. And that's what today's episode is about. Elective procedures that many of us have had done in our industry. And our guest today is Nia. You could come on and say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. It's nice to meet you.
You guys
in person,
too.
finally. Yeah. Before we get started, just so that everyone is aware, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
She, her. Cool. And also, do you identify as a sex worker?
I would hope so by this point, 11 years in.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you. That was my next question. I may use terms like stripper, entertainer, performer, showgirl. Like, is that all cool with you?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool.
I'm from Canada before I came down to the US, and that's where my career got started. And we had an entire province that not only tossed coins at us, but also called us peelers. So take your pick on whatever you want to use.
Peelers.
Yeah, like
what does that
peeling
mean?
yourself off. I don't know. We always compared ourselves to potatoes or bananas.
Oh my God, that's kind of creepy. I have never heard that. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. So 11 years being a peeler.
Nope.
And I checked out your profile. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. You travel a lot. You're all over the place. Like both coasts?
I've been everywhere. So I headlined in Australia
Uh-huh.
pre-pandemic, and then I had to evacuate from that. I've headlined in Europe. Now I'm just down here having the blast of my life. So,
Wow. Wow. 11 years. Have you traveled all 11 years?
for the most part, yeah. I mean, in Canada, we had to tour. Like that was just part of the schedule. If you want to be on stage, you're working for an agent. You get paid very minimal amounts, and then like you have to go to all these like middle of nowhere towns with a lineup of anywhere between you're the only one on schedule to maybe 7 girls at maximum, and we're all paid to be there, and we all have 18-minute stage sets, and somehow we have to sell dances. But I did start before the lap dance firms got fully like introduced into everything, and ran through that entire spiel of customers being like, what am I gonna pay you to be back there for when I can just pay you to play pool with me right now?
So that wasn't necessarily part of the business model in the Canada circuit, I take it.
Not
I'm
that
not
long,
familiar with Canada. Yeah.
no.
Wow. Very different. It's interesting. We all have like kind of one similar job title, but it really changes depending on what city you're in or what club you're working in. Sometimes it can really, really vary how you do your job. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel that like with travel dancing especially, it doesn't even matter if you're just dancing across the US as like a house dancer or if you're featuring, you have to pick up different tactics on sales. And this really is
Mm,
a sales job. This is figuring out ways of like working with what you're handed by the club and making it like work in different
mm-hmm.
ways for you. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've taught a couple of sales workshops, and there's like some principles that will always remain true, but it really requires you to have to research the club that you're working at and figure out what they're selling at what price point and how you can package things together, and then make that work for you. And then you go to another club and you have to figure that club out. Like they're likely to buy this thing. For you too, it's a marketing job. Your Instagram, you're a very prolific poster. Like you post a lot on your Instagram. Just looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, I
I'm
couldn't
on
do
my
it.
7th account, and I'm just really trying not to
Mm,
get this one taken down too. I
mm,
kickstarted a cam house in Europe in 2017, and that was the start of them just taking all of everything down. So,
yeah,
it's taken a really long time to get to where I'm at right now, and even then, it takes a lot to find a niche that will work, because when you lose your entire following, it doesn't guarantee that they will all find you again. So.
right. Let's talk about at what point did well, you've had a couple things done. So you had a lip lift. Is that the same as like a flip, like when they do the Botox injection? And
No.
that's different.
So
Okay.
I've gone for Botox twice, and the second time I went, I was on the floor hyperventilating, like
Mm,
shaking, could not function. Everything was numb. It was so painful. Me and lidocaine did not get along even at a dentist office. It makes me hurl. I don't mind the dentist, but most dentists don't want to work without numbing you. So,
yeah.
we come at a little crossroads, because that's about the only thing that makes me violently sick medically wise. So, I've always wanted a bigger lip, like just a tiny little bit on the upper lip. That's all I've ever wanted. It's the most subtle change. Most people don't even notice it. But the doctor that I went to is actually from Michigan, and he lives in Columbia. And part of the reason I chose him, honestly, was because his like side passion project is cleft lip palettes for babies. And if you can work on a child, like a literal child, you can work
Hmm.
on something that already looks good and just amplify it a little bit. So they take like a bullhorn from right underneath your nose, and then they just stitch it upwards. And the worst part of that is learning how not to drool in your sleep, I swear. Because it pulls on the upper corners of your mouth too. And like going back to work when I finally did, because I got that done and I got my breasts augmentated as well. The thing that my coworkers noticed that most men wouldn't, of course, was the fact that it also like lessened the smile lines around the mouth, and
Oh, that's
like
nice.
it pulls up the corner, so it makes you look less grumpy, which is
Like
kind
you're
of
always
weird.
smiling a little.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's no more resting like bitch face.
Did you have them both done at the same time, the breast
Yeah,
aug
I
and the?
did.
Oh wow! Oh my
So
gosh!
this was my second breast augmentation. I went up 100 cc, which okay, I'm gonna use
That's
This is an
significant.
example because this is like rosemary hair oil. I got this much injected, like not injected, but like added on to each breast. So that's really not a whole lot. And
Uh-huh.
just went up a cup size because when I got them done the first time, I woke up, I looked down, and I was like, these are amazing. And then the swelling went down, and I was like, okay. 8 years
So,
later, I was like, I'm ready to go back to exactly what I woke up to the
okay.
first time.
So it was a different doctor between the first and second time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
went to Colombia this last time, and honestly, I
okay.
cannot like vouch for that experience more than I already have everywhere else. So,
Wow. Okay. So the first time, did you do like silicone or saline?
there's silicone.
Okay. So the first time, what was that experience like as compared to the second time? Because the first time did you travel or did you
Yeah, the first
do
time
it
I
like,
was in Thailand.
oh wow. So you've had all medical tourism. This is
Yeah.
like, okay, this
I
is
was in
interesting.
Canada, and all the Aussie girls that I was following online, because even back like 8, 9 years ago, I was looking at
Hmm.
going somewhere overseas because breasts are a big part of like being on the showgirl circuit and getting a higher rate and being able to sell better and whatever else. And even back then, customers were like, "You don't want to do this," and I was following all the really hot Aussie girls, and they were all going into Thailand, and so I was like, "These places have great reviews. I keep seeing them pop up everywhere. They are literally what other industry people are doing, and they
Hmm.
turned out amazing. So literally no complaints on that end, but I wanted bigger, and
That tends to happen.
I couldn't physically go bigger because they literally pushed them to as far out as they could. But one thing I did gain out of this experience that I didn't out of the last one is I didn't get them fully filled out. I only went up again the 100 cc's per breast. So there's actually extra skin. Most people don't know that my breasts were freshly done. Most people don't even look at the scars or realize that they're there. And again, I got the forward and sideways amplification that I was looking for that was kind of missing the first time. So
Mm. So for people that are listening, they may not understand that they can actually make those choices and how your doctor would communicate that to you when you're making that choice. So they'll show you like images sometimes of like a high profile or something where like you have like more width in the implant. When you have saline, they just kind of pick a bag size based on how full that they're going to fill it with saline. But with silicone, they're kind of these preset sizes and different shapes and molds. So, how did that conversation go about as you're meeting or interviewing your doctor and figuring out like what that would be like and what type of implant that you would get?
I got the gummy bears the first time, and honestly, I had no
Hmm.
complaints with them, so I stuck with what I got the first time, which was another set of gummy bears.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
conversation went with, I'm looking for this. I still want to look natural. I still want to be able to fit most of my lingerie. I'm just looking for more amplification. And most of my lingerie does still fit, but I did go up a cup size, which most people still guess me at a C, but impressively, I'm a triple D.
So I just learned about that too because my first breast aug was like 17 years ago, and I know that I had to go and get fitted for a bra after that, but I don't think I ever did in between, and I've had them done twice since then. So I actually went last weekend to get fitted for a bra, and I'm like, I'm a 36C. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, well, maybe I'm a 36C. She's like, no, you're not. And she does a little tape thing. She goes, you're a 34 double D. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Shut up. And I go try it on. I'm like, I guess you were right. Bra sizing is so weird. It's so strange. Like even in America, when you're going cross sister sizes, and then if you're in like another country, it's so hard to figure out. I mean, most of the time I live in sports bras, but now I actually have to start wearing real bras. You can't just live in a triangle bikini every day, you know? Yeah, it's just really strange. And then like to try to figure out what does CCs mean in relation to cup size. So I'm not even sure the
They
measurement. I
don't.
know.
That's what they
Yeah.
don't tell you. They don't.
Yeah.
So the only thing that really matters is the fact that when you're looking at a natural breast, the tissue settles downward, so you need to lift it up in order to get it to fill the cup. And mine are
Hmm.
already there. So the difference is they're already this is the cup that's being filled out. There's nothing else to really further lift up. Like there's a little bit of lift and give, but that's it. That's all you get. And so that's what the cup is. You're filling it out with something that's already present. So
Yeah. Did you go over the muscle or under the muscle?
under both times.
Under, yeah, it's usually easier to just go with what you went with before on a revision. So I'm curious because I know a lot of people do go to Thailand or they'll go to Turkey for medical tourism just because the cost is so much more affordable. Do you know about how much you saved by doing that?
I was looking at, because I live in Key West, and I was looking at maybe going up to
Mm-hmm.
Fort Lauderdale or Miami or anywhere else, up the coast, because there are some really good doctors here. But
Mm-hmm.
as a starting rate, without anything included, I was looking at about $10,000 for a revision just to start.
Mm-hmm.
Going down there, my flights round trip out of Miami were roughly $400, which is, I
Wow.
mean, I can sneeze and pay that to get across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I won't even cover that. The hotels were really cheap, but they do have like medical recovery suites as well, which were honestly super affordable. Not my style of recovery because honestly, it just didn't seem to fit what I wanted. I like having a little more freedom when I'm like in recovery. I like having access to like restaurants and places I can walk and like just things I can do because I get a little restless. And so I just ended up staying at a hotel. And then the upside to getting the surgery down there is that the breast augmentation, the lip lift, all the like the sports bras, the post recovery drugs, the appointments, like literally everything that encompassed the clinic was included. And total, it was like $5,500, like less
Oh my
half of
God.
what I would have spent just on the titties alone. So,
Yeah,
and
that is
Cartagena,
crazy.
Colombia has, I mean, it's a bit of a weird town. I definitely like I went into Colombia 2 weeks early just to like party and see what else there is. I like Medellin better personally, but I mean, for what I got for the amazing food, like there's Michelin star restaurants where for two people it's $120 including your wine pairing. I got a really great vacation out of it, and I still spent less than what I would have just on the travel and accommodations alone of staying up in Fort
Mm-hmm.
Lauderdale.
Wow. So both of your procedures combined came to 5,500 and then like you said your flights were like 400. So you were able to with some hotels probably do the whole thing for like less than seven.
I think it was sitting at around 7 because I took two
Yeah.
weeks to just go do things before I
Why
went
not?
there.
Why not? Yeah. And that's probably like a good way to get your body to relax before you're about to have surgery if
Yeah,
you
you
like
waste all the
you're
energy
not
and then you're
working.
like, okay, I can sit on my ass for at least a week.
Wow.
Honestly,
So
though, I
go
didn't
ahead.
go that big. I woke up
Mm.
and the only thing I felt was the stitches like jabbing the inside of my nose, which was infuriating. I came
Mm.
out of surgery. I was awake super quickly, which for me is unfortunately common. Um,
Mm.
and I was literally hula hooping around my knee in the hotel room, being like, "Did I really just go under?" So I'm glad I didn't stay in the recovery suites just because for me I was like, okay, let's go do things. Like on the way back, we did a layover in Panama for 2 days just to like go and see what there is and do the sites. Like I've done Panama in the islands, but I've never actually done Panama City. So we went and saw some circus shows and ate food and like walked around downtown and just did all the things. And I was just gunning to go and do literally anything.
Were you on painkillers?
No, I stopped taking them
Oh, you
after
didn't
like I
take them?
think the second or third day.
Yeah, yeah. My second breast aug was like that because I did what you did. I did a like a swap, under the
Yeah.
muscle. They take the old ones out, they put the new ones in. And I remember I was up walking around later that day, visiting friends. Totally different experience from this one I just had. I went from under the muscle, they closed everything up, and they created new pockets under the muscle. So I have them now on top of the muscle. Because I had so much contraction from squeezing them for such a long time. It feels more comfortable to have them that way. But that recovery, out of all the procedures I've had done, I had a rhinoplasty. That one was the most painful I've ever had. Do not
Um,
recommend unless if you really need to do it. But
as I got told and I kept getting asked if I got my nose done for where my stitches were because I guess that's where they close you up for that too.
yeah.
So I know the feeling. And that was
Yeah.
more infuriating than the pain of the titties, honestly, because the stitches jabbing the inside of your nose was literally like I had to get my friend to sit there with nail clippers and just clip them off. And the doctor, of course, yelled at me. Fair, I'd be fucking, I'd be angry too about it. But because he couldn't like pinch them up to like get the stitches out and snip them.
Oh,
So I understand the pain on that one. That was
yeah.
definitely worse than getting your breasts augmented by
Yeah.
far.
For anyone listening, if you're thinking about getting a rhinoplasty, um, there's so many nerve endings in your nose that you get a lot of weird sensations. Like you feel like you have to sneeze sometimes, or when they go to take your stitches out or the gauze and all that, it's a huge release of pressure. So just so you know, that could be something you'll experience.
Numbness in your nose is definitely something that I do not
Yeah.
recommend. It was
But
the
then
tip of my
you
nose
forget
up to
about it.
about it was like the top of
Hmm.
my nose, so all the way around here and up to like here. Like that entire patch was just numb. And I was like, I didn't even
Hmm.
do anything to my nose.
It's all connected. But the good part is that eventually, I feel like most of my surgeries, like after the fourth day, that's when you start to feel kind of like yourself a little bit, and then you start to forget about the pain. And there's always like the payoff. For me, all the pain I went through with every single procedure was absolutely worth it. It changed my life. How about for you?
I'm definitely like 100% would redo this and 100% would
Hmm.
go back to my doctor. So,
Nice. Do you want to share your
quick
doctor for anyone
question.
that's like looking? Mhm.
Did you experience acne around your incisions around your nose? Because that was the worst of it too.
I don't remember. That one I had done like 22 years ago, I think.
Okay,
Um,
it's been a while.
I had a lot of bruising though. It was kind of funny going out to eat. I looked like a movie set character, like like the gauze around my nose, and I had two black eyes, and I just didn't care. I really wanted tacos that day. I needed to eat something that wasn't whatever my mom made she just liquefied everything for me because I was going to throw it up again. We had figured that out that I couldn't take Vicodin at the time. That's what they used to give you. And I, like you, I have the response to painkillers where I just throw them right up. Whatever I eat, I throw up. And I have a hard time coming out of anesthesia. I always throw up. So I knew that that was going to be the case. So whatever she made for dinner just got turned into soup. Um, because I would throw it up. So yeah, I don't know. The nose thing, I hope I never have to go through that again. So yeah. But I'm curious. You've had such a good experience and with the same doctor. Did you have anything unforeseen that you didn't have enough prep for? It was like
No,
that clear. You had a great doctor because it sounds
I
like
had
your
a
doctor, yeah, really communicated with you.
he's board certified in the US and like he moved
Hmm.
down there. He has a family down there. You're also not paying liability insurance and that's where half your money's going to in the US. So,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I can totally understand because I've seen a lot of very, very, very bad surgery, but I always do a ton of research. Realself.com is definitely a go-to that I cannot
Okay.
recommend enough because everyone has to like submit their board certifications and make sure that they're like and there's reviews, there's full reviews. You cannot remove the reviews from people that have submitted them if like there's proof that they've been to your clinic and whatever else. So
Hmm.
they do checkups on you like every couple of months to make sure that you're where you're at. Yeah.
That's a good sign of a doctor. So my first doctor, I didn't even have a follow-up appointment for a checkup for the breast aug, which is a huge red flag. If you're going to consult with a doctor, they should be informing you, we're going to do the surgery on this day, a couple days before. Don't drink they'll give you a sheet, right, of all the stuff you can't drink or eat. And there should always be a follow-up appointment. If your doctor does not have that follow-up appointment on the calendar, that's a huge red flag. That means that they really don't care about the work
It's
that they're
usually about
doing.
1 week out.
What about your work? Did you notice like an increase in income or I mean obviously self-esteem, confidence, but were you able to see any tangible, quantifiable benefits to your income because you made this
Honestly, I
huge
mostly
change?
did this for me, just like I did the first
Yeah.
time. But for me, it's being a little lazier with putting on lipstick because now I'm not trying to match my lips. I'm trying to overlap everything, and this is the first thing people see when they come into a club, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
this is a huge part of the sales. As much as men don't like to admit it, big titties do sell better, and mine are naturally big because I still have people thinking they're real somehow.
They do look real. They look very real. I was like, really? Yeah, he's
Um,
great. You had a great doctor.
yeah. Don't get me wrong, maybe in another like 8 years when I decide that I want to go bigger, I might, but for right now, this is exactly where I want to be.
That's actually a good point to bring up. The first time getting something done is so exciting because it's very emotional. You're feeling a certain way and you're about to change that feeling by doing this thing. And I think because we're focused more on changing of the emotions that we miss some of the critical research. We miss thinking about things like, well, they're only going to last for about 10 years. What am I going to do at year 11? Do I actually want to do this again? Can I foresee myself, if I'm in my 20s, doing this another 2, 3, 4, 5 times? It's really hard to think that far ahead. So, do you have any advice, or I guess like what would you say to someone that is in
It
that
really
state?
depends on the look you're going for because most of the US doctors specialize in what I lovingly reference as porn star titties. Um,
I call them
not
bolt-ons.
not to say that's a bad thing. I think there's a time and a place for everything, but
Uh-huh.
I personally always knew I wanted to look natural because I want to be able to walk out that door and not have people questioning me when I look like a trash panda, like out on the street. Like, I don't need to look like this is where my career is. I need to look like a normal person out there so that people don't walk up to me and question me and say, oh, what's going on here? So that was a big part of my personal decision and how I handled my surgery was, is this still going to look good? Am I still going to be able to fit conventional sizing for anything I want to wear? Now, the sad part is while the bra sizes might not fit, all of my clothes are made for anyone with a bigger chest, so
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
opposite under that one.
Did you, it sounds like you kind of got your doctor by reference from some other dancers that you were working with at the time. What would you have done if you didn't have that, but you still knew that you wanted to go through with this? How do you think you would have done your research?
Realself.com was honestly like my go-to, but I mean, half the girls on my island were saying that they had gone to Colombia for surgery.
Yeah,
And so I just kept asking around for, I want to say over a year and a half. And I take my
that's
time
a
with
long time.
everything. Yeah, I take my
Hmm.
time with everything because I want to make sure that when I'm making a decision, I'm making the right one. And we had like multiple video calls with not just like the doctor, but also with the staff, talking to different people in the clinic in regards to how things are going to proceed, taking photos, setting like the right expectations before I even flew down there to make sure that like I was pacing myself to where I want to be. He went with exactly what I wanted, which was I was like, I want to at least go 100 cc up. I don't know what I'll fit into, but like I got what I wanted, which was very minimal. Sorry for
Yeah.
referencing. I'm not trying to product place for rosemary hair oil.
So that's
But
like a cup size for people
yeah,
listening. That's
yeah.
about 100 cc's is about a cup size, maybe a cup and a half, something like
100
that.
cc is 100 milliliters, and
Yeah.
if you don't know what 100 milliliters looks like, that's the cap for what you can take through airport security.
So then they have to scan your tits separately.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
is there anything it sounds like you've had really good experiences. Is there anything that you're thinking about doing in the future?
As of right now, no, just because I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, but I can guarantee you that something's gonna pop in my head and I'm gonna take like at least a year to figure out if that's something I want to do, if that's something is going to be profitable for me, and if that's something that I can live with being a permanent decision for whatever amount of time. I've had a couple of my friends come to me because they're looking at doing facelifts, and again, I've recommended them to my doctor because he does work on faces very extensively. And this procedure is usually a miniature version of like a facelift.
Okay.
This is part of what they do when they give you one of those. So, I mean, I healed so well that I gave them a recommendation. I was like, look, if you want to go somewhere that's going to be trusted, that's going to be safe, that's going to be clean, where they're going to monitor you, where they're going to take care of you. Like, if you haven't traveled outside the US, they're going to have a place for you to stay where there's someone cooking for you daily, where there's someone like a nurse coming and checking up on you. They have lymphatic massages if you're getting lipo. They have everything is pre-built into the price, which is amazing. So, I mean, for me, it was definitely an incomparable experience. And if I get anything else done, I'll be going back.
It sounds like I would end up going there too. We don't have, as far as I know, we don't have that in the States. I don't
No,
think
that's
I've
not an
come
option.
across,
It's not a thing.
yeah, that's a huge selling point. Especially because it's so much cheaper to fly there, and then a hotel has to be super cheap too. So, um, I can imagine though, at some point it's going to be hard to get an appointment if everyone starts flying to Colombia or Turkey or
I mean,
Thailand.
they have an entire map of just the US with pins, and almost the entire thing's just covered. I was definitely the first pin
Wow.
from Key West, but there's like you get to pin yourself up there, and you get to see how many people have flown down just from here alone.
Oh my gosh. So, I think we need to take a little break, and then we'll come right back and keep chatting.
Are you a sex worker looking for a new podcast to listen to? Stripped by Sia is your answer to learning about the lived experiences of those in the adult industry, with a mission to destigmatize, educate, and humanize sex workers. I am your host, Steph Sia, and you can listen to new episodes every single Sunday wherever you get your podcast. Catch you then!
You're just full of so much like energy. Like I want to I want to come to the club that you're working at and just watch you on stage. I totally spied on you on your Instagram, and you do the hula hooping thing. I used to be a hula
The
hooper.
only one on circuit right now that does fire hula hoop. And I did just post my schedule, so we'll see if it gets a little more padded. But as of right now, I've got bookings all the way through to November of next year. So,
Jesus. Wow, you are so busy. How do you have so much energy? Like, is it coming from the
um,
boobs? Is it just like radiating
yeah,
out of your
it's all this. This is it. This is where the energy is stored. This is where it explodes from.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing.
I'd like to
Um,
blame it on the titties, but honestly, I was literally just outside suntanning on my patio with my peach facing up at the sun and complaining about the palm trees next door literally shading me every couple seconds because the wind is blowing. So first world problems, but maybe it's just the sun tanning, you know? Says the white pasty girl that lives on an island and barely sees sun.
well, Key West is a little different than the rest of Florida. Like, there's really no beaches there, right? It's like kind of like a
There's a
rocky
beach and the sand is trucked
shore.
in.
That's what I thought. I've gone there a couple times. I actually flew down there last year to work, and it was like a total bust. The club was
Sounds
not
like you
good.
need to come down with me then.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be better because the club I went to, I walked in, I was like, "Ooh, this is creepy." I'm getting a return flight immediately back home. There goes $700.
I've got to tell you, like, a lot of things shift down here literally every couple months, and if
Oh
you're
yeah.
not aware of what's going on and, like, how things are operating on this island, like, it can chew you up and spit you out like nobody's business.
Yes,
So,
and having a great set of tits makes it, I feel very easy to go and just be in a constant cycle of auditioning. So if you're in a place that has a lot of peaks and valleys because of the travel season, you're going to have to go to different parts of the country. So I've had other dancers say, I think I would say most people that I've talked to about their breast aug or BBL say I did it for me, but I'm also in the industry, and I've noticed that it does help me land more auditions than not land them. Kind of like that golden ticket, you know?
I'm kind of a spoiled brat. I don't think I've ever had to audition in my life.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've always had established shows. I've always had to be on stage. I've always like so I've literally never had
hmm
to audition before in my life. But
hmm
it does help with customer retention, and it does help with like bringing people back in specifically for you. Like these have won me awards. So
Well, that's also another thing. So your boobs can become part of your brand. There's a performer, Octo Booty. Her butt is part of her brand. I don't know if she
Yep.
has a BBL, but say she did want to get a BBL, she could actually write that off on her taxes. So I was able to write my last breast aug off on my taxes, and I needed to
The
because I
US
didn't
doesn't
have
really
enough.
allow you to do that anymore,
Mm,
sadly. Like
yeah,
Sephora makeup isn't really allowed to be a tax write-off anymore because if you use
really.
it in day-to-day life, then it's not specific for stage. What is a tax write-off is
Mm.
like clown makeup. When the hell are you ever gonna put that on and go to the club?
Ben Nye, their makeup fixing spray, I still use that, and it is the best one out there. But it's kind of hard to find. Like you have to buy it online because there's not that many places that sell it anymore. But Krylon, they're a performance makeup company, and their stuff is way cheaper than everywhere else. And if you're really good at like mixing foundations and stuff, you can kind of get away with it. But I was
Yeah,
able
I
to
don't have the
write,
patience
yeah.
for that instead.
I know all these weird things we do to like, oh my God, I need to like find a way to get $3,000 off my tax payment. What can I write off? My accountant this year was a genius, and he was able to get them written off. But the previous ones, and it really depends on who you work with. Previous accountants, they couldn't write it off for me, but because I think it's also because I've been in the industry for such a long time, and now if I don't have them, I can't work. I also have like a deformity, so I needed them to fix that deformity, and if I don't have them, I would not be able to get hired anywhere. So that's kind of how we were able to like swing it. Like it's a necessity for me to keep my job. Um, but we don't always get that lucky. So part of it too is knowing how you're going to finance it, right? When you went through your process and your year and a half of research, did you just start saving? Like from the day
Yep.
you decided that you saved,
Yep.
so you paid all up front in it. Wow.
One thing that a friend told me that I highly recommend is if you have an iPhone, get the Apple Savings account.
Mm-hmm.
Their percentage for your like kickback every month is about the same as putting in a portfolio like Wells Fargo and closing it, and that starts at $10,000 minimum to get that like port opened.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter how much money's in there, you're still getting the same percentage amount, roughly within like a couple points, and I wasn't just investing into that. I was also saving, like that is my main savings account now because that's where you get the most kickback back out of it. Don't get me wrong, I've got
Yeah.
other portfolios and other things that I'm trying to like make sure that I'm, keeping balance because no one else is going to ever put money aside for you for a retirement account or for insurance purposes or for anything else because we are a cash based
Yes.
business where we pay to rent the space we work in for the most part. So you have to be
Yes.
proactive with how you're managing your finances, and sometimes that's really difficult when you don't even know where to start.
Yes, listen to her, everybody. No one's going to save for you. You have to save for yourself. And it is so worth it if you don't know to. I've bought courses from people that do like teach financial management, they teach investing, or just like hire a fee only based fiduciary that will give you the advice that you actually need and not try to sell you some snake
I
oil funds.
I do have friends that have financed their tits before, put half down, finance the rest, and
Hmm.
sometimes it can be better for your like credit portfolio
Yes. Hmm.
because it can look like you are borrowing money and that it's a good investment to invest in you. So, I mean, if you're looking at having something on your like, to boost your credit score and you're okay with paying a bit extra for, and you're in the US, of course,
Hmm.
then you can go that route and it can be good for your like for later when you're applying for a mortgage or a car or whatever else.
Hmm.
But because it is a smaller amount that you're putting forward and taking out a loan for, but that's the only reasoning behind financing titties, in my opinion.
Yeah, or if you just don't have the cash, and I can say I didn't think that I was going to rupture again. I thought fluke, I have at least like another 2 or 3 years with this set, but I did, and I figured by the time that happens, I'll have extra money in my savings, and it'll be no big deal. I'll pull it out. Luckily, I had emergency fund, but I did end up having to finance most of it, which it does open up another line of credit. So then you have more cumulative credit, but I had to finance most of it, which hit my credit score. So I kind of had to do a half and half where I pulled some out of savings to make one big payment. And then, but this is what we're talking about is like how to hustle your credit. So because I had just opened a credit line, I opened up another credit line within like the same week or so, because you don't want to do like a bunch of credit checks within a couple months of each other. If you're going to do them, you want to do them all at the same time. So I opened up another credit line for like another $10,000, and that helped reduce my total credit balance. I could get it, under 30%. But if you're not familiar with how to do these things, like something like a breast aug, suddenly when you have to have one because you have your first pair ruptured, can be extremely financially devastating. So ways to alleviate that is be smart. Put your money in a high yield savings account somewhere and just treat that like a monthly payment. Like you're going to replace your car someday. You're just going to replace those boobs, because you don't want to have to finance them. You will pay the percentage like any credit card. For those of you that know about Care Credit, be careful because they give you that 12-month promo. But if you're like even 1 month like past that and you only have to pay like another $50, but you're at month 13, they will make you pay all the interest that you would have paid on the total balance that last month. So if it's like $2,000 interest on month 13, you're going to have to pay all that. I know someone that happened to. She thought, oh, it's only $50. I'll just pay it next month. And then she had to come up with like an extra $2,000. So there's lots of ways to do it. But we want to try to be smart, right?
And if you don't pay that within that 1 month, then it becomes $4,000.
Yeah.
Or something else ridiculous.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like, you are just so wonderful, Nia. You're so smart. I really hope that everyone that is listening to this right now has like a pen and paper out and they're taking good notes on everything that you're saying. And I'm just so happy to hear that you had a good experience with medical tourism.
The other thing I was going to mention is make sure you're over saving, because you don't know when you're going to be able to go back to work. I lucked out.
Yes.
My manager took pity on me and allowed me to go back to work without hitting the stage, because I am a stage freak. And he called me out on my bullshit and said, if you set foot up there, you're going to do something stupid. And I was like, I already know I'm going to do something stupid, so please don't make me go up there. So I was
what week did you go back?
Honestly, I went back after 2 months, which is really, really stupid, but I was so bored and I was already doing everything at home, and I was just like, I can't just keep sitting here doing nothing. But you need to make sure you've got at least 4 or 5 months worth of not just like your basic expenses, but you need savings on top of that. You need boredom hobby savings. And then you also need to account for the fact that you're probably going to pick up hobbies that you didn't think you'd pick up because you've got nothing else you're filling your time with. So
right.
There needs to be like a nice fat cushion, not just for like in case of emergency and something goes sideways, but also in case boredom strikes and you can't like mentally deal with the fact that you are still not able to go back to work.
Case in point, that's why I have a sweater that I'm crocheting that I'll probably be crocheting for like another year. Is there anything else you want to share with anybody, or where we can find you online?
All my details are on nianebula.com. Instagram, I am Nia Nebula, because it's my 7th account.
Well, it's been so great. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience with us. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm sorry I got distracted on my patio earlier.
I think that's a really good excuse.
I
That's
know.
the best excuse.
Everywhere else is having really bad weather, and I'm just sitting here suntanning because it's almost 80 degrees.
Throw it in our face. All right. Well, I hope you get a lot more sun with the rest of your day.
Thank you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your podcast, and I'll chat with you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right, everybody, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and chat with our producer.
Yay! As a way to support our work at YAS Podcast, we created a store, the YAS Store. All of the art in the store is made by sex workers, and all of the profits get shared with sex worker artists. Go to yasstore.shop to get your gear. It's stuff for sex workers, pole dancers, and sex worker allies. 10% of profits are shared with sex worker organizations. It's a great way to support our podcast and sex workers everywhere. That's yasstore.shop.
And we're back. She was really cool.
Yes, she was awesome.
She has so much energy.
Yes, I know. And I actually, so when you both were talking about how like real her breasts look, I was sitting here listening, and I went and looked on Instagram and saw the fire hula hooping, which is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And she's right. She's pretty gnarly on stage. She kills it, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. She's a really good performer. So she was
And
great.
very smart. Very, very smart. I love when she talked about saving for the time you're going to have off and then boredom.
Yeah.
Because all the things, like if you're a dancer, you probably like doing things like going to the gym or whatever, dancing when you're not dancing at work.
Yeah.
All that stuff that you do with your body, you can no longer do. And you have to start figuring out other ways. Otherwise, like, you know, you've had surgery, you start to feel really bad. Like just everything is this, ugh.
Oh yeah, you get really bored. Well, see, luckily for me, so after my accident, my first surgery, I had never seen Game of Thrones before. And it took me like 3 months to get through that shit. Yeah, and I was like, because I'm like, I remember being like, I can't watch it. Like, I can't. Like, these, like, the people who are watching it are like dedicated to it. Okay, they have like weekly meetings at friends' houses. I'm like,
I was one of them. I was one of those people.
I don't have time. I remember when it was out and everyone was talking about it. I'm like, fuck you guys. I don't have any fucking time for that.
Well, you have time to watch Star Trek.
Well, that's different, though. You know,
I'm still halfway through that.
I'm so glad you're watching Star Trek. It's so good. It's so good for you.
Season 2, like halfway through season 2, I started like turning to Theo and I'm like, oh, this is a good episode. And he starts laughing. It's like,
because it has like all of the, it has like ethical dilemmas, and it has like, they talk about gender. They talk about, like different races, different species, and how it applies to like it applies to our real lives, you know. And then my favorite part is how they basically talk shit about how we live now, right? They're like, oh, back in the 21st century, which is what we're in right now, they're like, we used to be barbaric and do these horrible things. And I'm like, yeah, we are. And they're like, but we don't do that anymore. And I'm like, oh, I wish, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So the best time to have like a spiritual dilemma is post-surgery, post-op.
Exactly.
You come out a better person in every way possible.
Yeah, I think sitting around in rest mode after surgery is like a really important time to center yourself and like make sure that you're okay, and like sort of examine and do a lot of self-care, because that's something that I didn't do. I know that we're talking about different types of surgeries, but I didn't, like, you know, it's such a good time to be able to have an excuse to take time for yourself. And that's something that I wish I had done more of after my multiple surgeries. So
yeah. If you're having like a spiritual crisis, just go get something done.
yeah if you're having a spiritual crisis, go get surgery, Lisa.
But like, no, it's true though. It just cuts the crap out. Like it gets rid of all the excuses that we make. Oh, I have to do this or that, and you're just like stuck sitting with yourself. And
it is. I'm not gonna lie. There were, you know, even though it was frustrating, because we live in a society where we constantly have to be moving and doing something and answering for something and showing up for something and scheduling something. It was this time where, you know, I was very grateful just to be like staying in one place and not being responsible for all of these things all the time. So I know it does sound like totally boring. But at the same time, like, I did try to embrace it as like, okay, like, this is me taking a break. And like, even like literally after my accident, I remember being in the hospital after my accident and being like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm resting. And it sounds so sick, you know, that I found that I was like missing half of my foot, but I was still grateful to be resting. But that is how I felt, and I can't change that. So
I can relate. I think that we are addicted to productivity in this country. And it's really sad that it takes a tragic event that mobilizes you to become aware of that. But what a great gift, you know?
Yeah.
Every time I've gone through a procedure, I come out a totally different person. And maybe part of that is just because I feel better about my body. I feel more whole.
Yeah.
But also this time I've been working on projects and developing another side of myself outside of the club industry. And even that is just giving me a huge boost of confidence. So
totally,
you know, we have to have our divorce with capitalism at some point.
Yes, or like this separation, like you're separated but you're still together, kind of like that's where I'm at.
I guess you can't really like totally leave it, but
so
who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple months? Maybe.
Who knows?
Back to that.
Yeah.
I just want to look good in the apocalypse. What else can we do?
You will look good. You'll be fine. We'll all be fine.
This is fun.
Well, this was great, Lisa. She was a really great guest. And it's my honor, pleasure listening into you guys talking today. Thanks for allowing me to produce this project.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please remember to like, subscribe, and rate our podcast.
Yes.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
YAS Podcast is produced by YAS Work, which is a nonprofit dedicated to educating and entertaining audiences about sex work through media. Learn more about how you can get involved in the podcast and our organization by visiting yaswork.org. That's YASWORK.org.